You see somebody post on Instagram in these times when there's a very polarizing event that happens, and you'll hear people's sides, right? You'll hear somebody create a really compelling post arguing for one side and coming up with some solutions, but basing their solutions off of their biases within that box that they identify with. And then you'll see people on the other side doing the same thing. But what we don't see a lot of is people who are able to quiet the bias, right? To grapple with their own biases and to kind of turn the volume down on them and to validate, to see and to hear everyone, right? Everyone. We don't see anybody doing that. We don't see anyone who's really, really diving into the nuance. Because what is the nuance? Nuance is assessing all of the points of view so that we can get a very clear picture of what's going on, right? A legitimate and accurate picture of what's really going on, so that we can create solutions for the whole that benefit the whole, right? Real solutions that will last us forever, right? And we'll continue to be able to compound on those solutions to create more and more unity, more and more peace within our society as a whole. Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Nuance podcast. I am your host, Kira Louise, and I am so excited to be here. I wanted to take an opportunity to kind of dive deep into my intentions for this podcast and also the fears I have around, starting this podcast and the journey that I am committing to by beginning. So, without further ado, let's get started. So first I want to cover, who am I? Right? Like I said, my name is Kira Louise. I am a thinker. I am a discerning human who has spent her whole life growing and analyzing culture and people. I've always been fascinated by the differences in human beings and what makes them similar, and just the nuances of daily life and experience amongst various groups within humanity. And so with this podcast, I really want to explore these things, and I really want to kind of ground into the energy of authenticity and transparency as well. So there's this drop-in, this download that I've had from God, if you believe in God, or the universe, whatever you'd call it, this higher power, that maybe it's my higher self, who knows, but this drop-in that I continuously kind of hear is, you go first. You go first. You go first. And a lot of times I have rejected this drop-in, or I've really just kind of ignored it, because going first is not always easy. In fact, most of the time going first is hard. But that is a huge part of my mission, is going first and shaking shit up. And that is really the foundation for this podcast, bringing to light the taboo topics that we, just don't talk about. I say, let's talk about it. And why do I think that it is important to just talk about it? I believe that the state of the world right now, with gun violence going on, with rioting happening, with the planet in such a desperate place, with all of the various movements that are going on and the uprisings that are happening, I believe that these are due to a intense ill within our American society, and some could argue within our global society, where we do not see or hear one another fully and authentically for who we are. We do not validate each other for the wounds that we have and the trauma that we have, right? Like, we are such a gaslighty culture, and because of that, we are seeing so much destruction, so much pain being manifested in a number of ways, and no real solutions being brought to the table. And what I believe the reason for that is because we aren't able to come up with real solutions if we don't really understand the root of our problems. And I'm of the opinion that the root of most problems is rooted in a couple of things: of feeling unseen, feeling unheard, and feeling invalidated. And again, going back to the notion that we exist in a very gaslit society. If you don't know what gaslit means, please pause this episode and go look it up real fast. I promise you'll be better off for it. But because we're in this society that is it's so normal to be gaslit, right? It's so normal to be invalidated, to have your feelings brushed under the rug, and to have people not really see you for who you authentically are. If that is the foundation that we have laid in our society, then of course, people are going to be acting out in a number of ways. And of course, the systems that have been created in our society are rotten at their core, because at the core of them is this foundation that I just brought up, right? This foundation of invalidating, of minimizing people's pain. And until we face this, and until we really choose to fix this within ourselves, to heal this, I should say, within ourselves, to remedy this within ourselves, we can never remedy this within our culture. Because here's the thing: magnetism is at the root of all, right? We are energetic beings. We're magnetic beings. So whatever we are struggling with, whatever we're challenged with, whatever energy we're choosing to traverse the world with, we are creating more of within the world just by being within that energy ourselves. And so if we choose to be in the energy of healing, of validating ourselves, right? Of healing these deeply seated wounds that we have around not being seen and heard. If we do things to be seen and heard, like me right now starting this podcast, this is me healing in real time the wound that I have around feeling unseen and unheard. I'm putting myself out there to the world, using the gifts that I have to also help remedy a deep wound that I have. And that shit is powerful, because that is how I am going to change the world. I am doing my part in changing the world by showing up right here, right now, speaking my truth. And so my overarching intention is to really bring more understanding around the roots of these issues that we're having in our society, and really just kind of coloring in the nuances of the situations. You see somebody post on Instagram in these times when there's a very polarizing event that happens, and you'll hear people's sides, right? You'll hear somebody create a really compelling post, arguing for one side and coming up with some solutions, but basing their solutions off of their biases within that box that they identify with, right? And then you'll see people on the other side doing the same thing. But what we don't see a lot of is people who are able to quiet the bias, right? To grapple with their own biases and to kind of turn the volume down on them, and to validate, to see, and to hear everyone, right? Everyone. We don't see anybody doing that. We don't see anyone who's really, really diving into the nuance, right? Because what is the nuance? The nuance is really just analyzing all of these nitty-gritty details, all the details, right? Not just the details that feel good to us individually, or that confirm our biases, or the details that, we can use as talking points to throw at somebody on the other, quote, side. Nuance is assessing all of the points of view so that we can get a very clear picture of what's going on, right? A legitimate and accurate picture of what's really going on, so that we can create solutions for the whole that benefit the whole, right? Real solutions that will last us forever, right? And we'll continue to be able to compound on those solutions to create more and more unity, more and more peace within our society as a whole. I'm not of the belief that in order for one person to win, another person has to suffer. I think that that is the old way. The new way is analyzing the part that we play on our own to contribute to the ills of our society, like really grappling with that, taking ownership of that, healing that, so that we can then move forward into society, bringing our gifts and talents to help heal the society, right? Again, with the magnetism, if we're healing ourselves, it's inevitable that we're going to be healing the society as a result. Let's just take a deep breath. I'm a firm believer that breath is everything. And a lot of times in these conversations, we hold our breath. We restrict ourselves from the life force energy that is within us. And so I think it's important to get in the habit of just taking a deep breath when we're feeling that energy just kind of gathered up in our chest. And I feel that right now. So let's do this together. Yes, feels great. All right, so another intention that I have written down here is I'm doing this because it is my actual mission on the planet. I believe that my mission is to shake shit up for the evolution of humanity. What do I mean by that? To shake shit up. I mean to bring forth uncomfortable conversation in order to incite healing and inspire compassion within humanity. This is what I feel inspired by. This is where I feel the most aligned in my life, is when I'm highlighting the things that no one's looking at and bringing forth and saying the things that people are thinking but are too scared to say. That is what I'm here for. And so that leads me to really wanting to discuss the fear that I have around launching this podcast. I wouldn't be human if I didn't have fear. And there is definitely a lot of fear that's been coming up around launching this podcast. And so the main overarching fear that I feel is the fear of being canceled. This is controversial stuff, right? I'm going to definitely offend some people. I'm definitely going to say the wrong thing sometimes. That's the nature of this work. And I'm willing to say the wrong thing so that I can receive feedback and ultimately evolve into a better version of myself for it. So not only am I willing to do this, to be imperfect, to mess up, to say the wrong thing sometimes, to look stupid sometimes, but I'm willing to do this in front of you. And you might ask yourself, why? Why would I want to do that? Well, I do that because I want you to be able to see an example of someone who's willing to be imperfect for the sake of shifting the trajectory of humanity. I know that sounds cliche, but I genuinely believe that that is what's needed at this time in history. You know, this is definitely not a time in history where things are going well, right? Where we're seeing a lot of prosperity or growth. We're not feeling united as people. And so shifting the trajectory of humanity is imperative in these times in order for us to evolve in the direction of progress, right? In the direction of healing, instead of in the direction of demise and downfall. So I'm willing to be the one who goes first, the one who shows others how to have uncomfortable conversations, how to see the humanity in people that we otherwise would judge or minimize, the people that we try to ignore. How do we see them for who they really are? This is what I'm here for. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. To be the one who inspires others to take imperfect action, as I've said before, and to make uncomfortable, imperfect changes for the sake of bettering our world. to take on the role of pattern disruptor so that we as a culture of humans can learn to understand each other, to genuinely hear and see one another for who we truly are, and thus come to solutions that benefit the whole. That is exactly what's missing from the world right now. Being willing to see things a new way. If I could create a visual for the place that I see our society in right now, it would be a dryer. Now stick with me, a drying machine, right? So envision a drying machine, the ones with that you can see through. You can see the clothes spinning. Envision that thing spinning around and around. That's the way that I see the world right now, right? And the way that we are communicating with each other, the way that we are cycling within distorted patterns that don't actually serve us, right? The way that we are just operating out of habit. We're just on this hamster wheel, just going and going and going and repeating the same old patterns that we say we want to change, that we say that we detest, right? Like regardless of what side you see yourself on or what group or party you identify with, I hope that you can acknowledge that we as a society are just going in circles. We are repeating the same conversations. It's a new topic, but it's the same. We take on the same roles in those conversations. And that is exactly why we continue to see the same issues repeating themselves over and over and over, right? To see something different, we have to do something different. And that starts with the way that we communicate with one another, the way that we see one another. So to go off of the dryer visual, we need someone to open that bitch up and take a hard look at what's inside. Not to continue nitpicking, focusing on imperfections of others or judging people to make ourselves feel better, right? But to actually see what is inside, to be willing to see the roots of these deeply seated wounds that we have that keep us within this hamster wheel, within this dryer, cycling over and over and over again. If we're willing to see things differently, if we're willing to acknowledge our part in the mess, then we're able to reap the rewards of an outcome that serves the whole, an outcome that truly and genuinely heals us and continues to heal over time, right? We're able to build a new foundation that creates a whole new world for us, a world, again, that is rooted in peace and unity. That is the goal. I feel fear in launching this podcast, and I'm doing it anyway. And that's precisely what I hope to inspire within you. Being willing to do the scary thing that your soul is yearning to do, because honestly, that's the whole reason we were put on this earth, right? To make an impact in some way. Every last one of us has a gift. Mine happens to be bringing to light the aspects of our human existence that we do on autopilot and don't really think about or question. The things we're programmed to do, believe, and identify with that actually create an illusion of separation. What if I told you that this autopilot that we're operating in is the foundation for the problems we continue to experience? How would that change the way that you saw the world, our society, and the problems that we're facing? Just a little food for thought. I have a gift of seeing beyond the layers of conditioning in a person and directly into their heart. And this is why I love to interview people. And something I fully intend to bring to this podcast as well is interviewing people, but not just for the sake of, talking to them and asking the same old questions they've been asked before, but to really get to the root of who they are as a human being, the nuances of who they are, how they see the world, how they got to be where they're at, how others have misperceived them, and how that's contributed to their wounding, right? Like really understanding their heart, the mission that they have on this earth, and their story from an authentic perspective. I also want you as a listener to understand something And that is that I am open to constructive, respectful feedback for the sake of growth, to learn rather than to cancel or delete, right? I want this podcast to be a conversation. I want listeners to feel comfortable engaging in conversation with me if they notice I may have a blind spot about something or are just genuinely curious to engage further, rather than going on the defense, deleting comments, ignoring feedback, or assuming I know better, because that is the problem. I ultimately want us to be in this together. As I learn, I'll share what I learn with you. If you learn things, you can share what you learn with me. And that is how we're going to come to this place of compassion and connection and unity. An open dialogue for the sake, again, of healing the planet, of creating solutions to our problems that make sense for everyone. This is what you can expect from this podcast. A bit of discomfort, a bit of cringe, and a whole lot of growth. A whole lot of understanding and compassion for those people and situations that you thought you had your mind made up about. But ultimately, you may learn that you were just in judgment. I am going to challenge you. You need that. We all do. I challenge you because ultimately I have so much love for you. I do this uncomfortable work because I have an unwavering belief in the potentials for the future of our nation and ultimately of this world. I believe without a shadow of a doubt that this work is my purpose in this lifetime. If what I'm saying here feels aligned with you, especially if it feels edgy, I encourage you to continue to tune in. Growth does not come out of comfort. It comes from challenging yourself with the intention to evolve for the betterment of humanity. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Kira Louise. This is the Let's Talk Nuance podcast. I look forward to having you here in the future to explore the gray areas in a world of perceived black and white. Until next time.